All right. Hello, environmental science. We're back at it again. Talking about 14.3, and 14.3 are essentially the effects of urbanization on the environment. So let's just get into it here. With this, again, it's the idea that about 53% of the world's population, 81% of Americans live in urban areas, and this has been the trend with cities growing. So, again, growing up or growing out. But the idea is that with more people moving in, how does this affect urbanized areas, and how are these urbanized areas affecting the environment? So if we think about all these bigger cities, again, they're going to have to use a lot of resources. So again, this can result in waste, pollution, and poverty. All right. And what we see is that because of that, most cities are unsustainable. Again, they're using way more resources than they can reproduce. Okay. With population experts, they see important urban trends. They see that urban areas are again growing by natural increase and by migration, mostly from rural areas. And with urbanization, what we see is that the percentage of people living in urban areas will continue to increase. The size and number of urban regions is increasing exponentially, and poverty is becoming increasingly urbanized. So typically in less developed countries, you're going to see poverty. So people not living in the best conditions, not having all the resources that they may need for a quality of life. What we see is that a lot of people will move to these urban areas because there are a lot of different factors. One, more people around you that you can communicate, socialize with. More opportunities in the cities, more to do in the cities. Those are a few reasons why people may want to move to these urban areas. And because of that, if they're not expanding up, they're expanding out. And when we talk about expanding out, what has to come down and what gets torn down so that these cities can grow out? And so, again, the idea why better jobs, living conditions, education, food, and healthcare. Again, people will move to these cities because of this idea. But what we might see is that they're also driven by famine. So, famine is the idea that there isn't enough food in an area for the people living there, deteriorating environmental conditions. So, for example, different natural disasters, we talk about with Hurricane Katrina down in Louisiana, any type of weather storm, tropical storm, in the southeast, people may want to move out from different areas to the urban areas because of that opportunity to house them, to have food, better living conditions, and obviously war. With war, you're going to want to be in a more stable place with more reliable resources, with more opportunities to live, more places to house your family if you needed to. So, again, these are just some reasons why people will move to the cities. What we see is that the urban sprawl gobbles up the countryside hard because, again, the idea is you're spreading out. So, again, shopping malls and parking lots replace farmers' fields, not only with other buildings. If you are trying to have some type of opportunity, you want to have a shopping mall, again, you got to place it somewhere. With the shopping mall or with businesses in general, you're going to need places for the cars to park. So again, that's where a lot of these parking lots are going to be replacing these fields. Okay. What we see is that with urban sprawl, also a product of ample affordable land, automobile use, federal and state funding on highways, and inadequate urban planning is going to contribute to these environmental problems that we see. So again, the more that we use with products, more automobile use. So again, not only using different resources, but having those carbon dioxide, CO2 emissions from cars, again, that will contribute to environmental problems. State funding on highways. With more highways, you got to take away forest or habitats so that people can get from A to B. And again, with inadequate urban planning, if we don't have the great planning, then the environment is going to suffer because of that, using up more space than we might need in general. So again, with highways, with transportation between cities or even across country, habitats need to be cut down. And you will see videos or things where, roadkill, for example, right? You see roadkill all the time. It's because of these highways splitting habitats. And then those animals are in the crosshairs, and sometimes they do not survive, right? We do see that some countries, however, have created different bridges different tunnels for animals to go under these highways. The idea is that these people are taking in consideration the different ways we are affecting the environment. So by creating these highways that allow for animals to to travel safely, that's one step in the right direction. Okay. There are advantages of urbanization, though. Again, seem like a lot of negatives, but there are advantages. So, what we see is that cities are centers of economic development, innovation, education, social and cultural diversity, and job markets. And what we see is that they will have better healthcare, better education, and usually live longer. So, again, for humans, this is a really good thing because as a society, as a civilization, we can grow and we can become better, healthier, right? We talk about that with life expectancy. However, there are disadvantages. It is unsustainable. Again, with more people living in an area, we don't have enough resources to re have all these resources. Okay, we use up too much. We can't get it all back, and that's why it's not sustainable. So again, we lack vegetation. We have water problems. Again, we do have some irrigation systems, but again, we're not seeing that there. Concentrate of pollution and health problems. Again, if you look at cities like Hong Kong, Chicago, New York, um, Taiwan, Singapore, right? You see a lot of people, even before the pandemic, were wearing masks because of the air quality in those areas. And so, again, with all those emissions, not just from all the cars, but businesses, just life in general, that was not causing for a good uh, place for people to breathe in, for people to live in. Also, too, produce noise pollution that affects a lot of things, and then again, you're going to affect the local climate with all that pollution, all that activity. It is going to change things up. Last one here. So, population experts see important urban trends. So, urban poverty, people crowded into slums or live in squatter settlements and shanty towns at the edges of cities. Again, these are people that aren't living and contributing to society essentially, right? They are just living in shanty towns. So, again, they have their little huts, their little living areas, and again, they're just kind of scraping by for food. They're scraping by. They're not living in a permanent home, going to a job, and all that. And what we see with those living conditions, again, they're not going to have clean water, the proper food, plumbing, electricity. They're not going to have any of that. So, again, these people are squatting in areas just to survive. You know, they're not trying to live a better life, all that. They're just trying to survive at that point. And what we see is that with these urban poverty areas, they're high pollution and environments prone to landslides, floods, earthquakes, or fire. So if they are in the crossfire or if they're in an earthquake, landslide, flood, they're done for because they don't have that infrastructure. They don't have that living condition that allows them to survive. And they might not be healthy enough to survive even if they do avoid some of these. So again, that's why the idea is we got to get away from poverty. We got to make sure that people are in healthier places, eating healthy food, contributing to society. They're not outside in poor conditions, living in badly made huts or badly made shelters. Okay. So, next time we'll talk about 14.4. Again, this is dealing with how these cities can become more sustainable.